Hey everybody, welcome back to Cinematically Late, the series dedicated to me talking about movies that I may have missed for whatever reason, whether they came out in theaters or I just never got around to seeing them. Today we are talking about, and we are actually finishing up the month of October with a scary movie. Hopefully this will be the last one for a little bit, but today we're talking about the 2019 movie Haunt. Now, this is a perfect movie to talk about for Halloween because number one, it is set on Halloween, as well as it's a bunch of teenagers going into a haunted house and basically getting murdered, picked off one by one. That's basically the summary, no surprises there. It's kind of just the perfect Halloween movie. However, it's not the perfect movie for me, despite some of its high scores that are boasted on both IMDb as well as Rotten Tomatoes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it with point number one, which is this movie is just a mishmash of tropes. If you have seen any horror movie, you will most likely recognize at least one, if not several, different things that happen in this movie that you're just like, that's just from another movie. Even the ending and towards the end, there are certain aspects that just feel like Home Alone. That's not even a horror movie, but I mean, there's elements of Saw, there's elements of Halloween itself. There's all these different types of movies that this perfectly fits into, that it just doesn't feel like anything new. It's just trope after trope after trope tossed in one at a time. They try to make some things a little bit different, a little bit more interesting, but in the end, it just sort of feels like more of the same. And it feels like I've seen this movie before, despite this is my first time ever watching it. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some very interesting things that happen in this movie, some additions to some of those tropes that do kind of make it feel a little bit different, especially like with the villains. They do fit that trope in certain aspects, but also they go beyond that by being just a little bit different and being a little bit more interesting. Probably interesting enough that they would be able to spin this off or at least have multiple sequels. That's kind of the idea I got from this, but I wouldn't expect a lot of it. And I think that's point number two here, is that they have a lot of interesting ideas that could advance the storyline, could make it different, could set it apart. But rather than doing that, they just fall back into, let's make a cheap horror movie. It's just more of the same. Again, kind of with point number one, it's very much the same tropes, but a lot of the same things happen again and again. The teenagers, the sort of mild love story that's not really a love story. There's all these different elements that just don't feel unique. It just feels like all of the same, like I've seen this movie over and over, but it's something that comes out in another year. And that's kind of disappointing, especially since this movie was not only written by the writers of A Quiet Place, which is a phenomenal movie, it's also produced by Eli Roth, a very popular horror genre producer, director, actor. So you think he would kind of get a little bit more on board with it, but it just kind of felt like the same thing over and over. I did like certain aspects of it though. Don't get me wrong. It's not a terrible movie it's not the worst movie by any means, but it is worth a watch if you do want to watch something that's a little bit different for Halloween, but still has that flavor to it. I think this very much fits that very particular mold, but it's kind of a negative because it fits that mold so well. I don't really want to watch it again. It's very particular to not only to the time of the year, but also in the subject matter. And I don't know if I would want to watch more of it. And that's going to lead me into my final point, which is it's an okay horror movie, but it's best for background watching. Like if you want to also be on your phone, or if you also want to do other stuff, but kind of fit in the season of horror, I feel like Haunt very much fits it. You don't have to be full on paying attention. There are definitely moments of suspense and maybe like some of those new interesting things that they kind of introduce that could be fun. But realistically, you could get away with just kind of playing in the background if they had a little bit more development in some of the characters, particularly the villains. We don't necessarily need a full-on hero story, but if they focused on the villains, if they gave me a little bit more backstory, or at least gave me a little bit of who they are or why they are the way that they are, I think we could have gone way above and beyond. But because they tried to keep that secretive villain, no real motive, but the heroes have to get out of it, it just didn't really do it for me. But like I mentioned, I do feel like if they did want to spin this off into a sequel, whether it be a sequel or a prequel, I feel like they could easily do it. I don't think that they should because I don't think it's worthy of that, but they most likely will because it's Hollywood. So those are pretty much all my thoughts on Haunt. Do I think it's a great movie? No. Is it watchable? Sure. If you kind of just want to watch something slightly different from all the different things you've seen in the past, it worked very well, and I highly recommend it for that very particular reason. If you want to watch something else, I mean, maybe go to a classic. I wouldn't say rush out to watch this one or purchase it. If you're able to watch it on a streaming service, which I believe it's only currently available on Shudder, which is a horror genre app or streaming service, particularly. I think it's only available on there. I believe I watched it off of there with a monthly subscription, but if you want to watch it off of that, you can. But there's really no rush to either buy or watch this movie, especially now that it's heading towards the end of October. There's really no reason to watch it until this time, maybe next year, but really don't rush out and try and watch this movie. And I think we're going to go ahead and end it there because I don't really have a ton of great things to say about it. I don't want to ruin it. I feel like I've already said everything that I need to say about Haunt. So if you guys want to check it out, or if you have happened to have seen Haunt, let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section down below. Also, while you're down there, make sure you leave a thumbs up if you like this Cinematically Late, as well as be sure to check out all of my other Cinematically Lates by subscribing and hitting that bell notification. Also want to make sure you subscribe because I do have a new Cinematically Late every single Thursday at around 9 a.m., as well as I go live every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to make sure you hit that subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out on any of those videos. Also be sure to check out one of my latest videos, which is a Halloween must-watch list or recommended list, just to basically lists from various movies that you can watch around this spooky season, especially now that it's really, really close to Halloween. That is definitely a video worth checking out. You can check it out in the corner or in the links down below. I would greatly appreciate that. Other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one.